I think if you're a diaspora African, then like you will naturally gravitate towards Pan-Africanism, right? Because, think about that thing. You grow up, and as much as there are like a gazillion Nigerians in the world, like in the United States, they're not just a gazillion Nigerians, and you interact with Africans of all different sorts, right? So it's, here in New York, for example, yes, they're Nigerians, but they're also folks from Senegal, right? Like they're also folks from Guinea. They're also folks from Congo. And like, what you share is an understanding. It's both an understanding that comes out of sort of struggling to be recognized as fully human, which automatically gives you a language. But then, like I would be loath to say that like our understanding of ourselves as Africans, or our connection through Pan-Africanism, is only about struggle. It's also about some of the very real kind of similarities in the way that we think about ourselves and the way that we construct our cultures, right? That's a really important dynamic. And like, I think it's a superpower in many senses. And I think it's a superpower that some of these like the older thinkers, writers, like leaders recognized, didn't always execute in the most robust or adaptive fashions, or might have recognized on a philosophical level, but when it came to a practical application, were kind of caught in some of the things that catch us all, which is like being enamored of difference that ultimately doesn't really mean anything, but that can be very powerful as a political tool. And so I think it's that dynamic. I want to be recognized. Like I have a lot of pride in being a Nigerian. I have a lot of pride in being an Igbo man. I have a lot of pride in being from a particular village, in Eastern Nigeria. Like that means a lot to me. But at the same time, like that is not, ultimately in the project that I think we have of like recognizing full humanity of everyone, recognizing ourselves as full humans from the continent of Africa, I think those things do need to be subordinated to an ideology of humanness that I think is very well expressed in philosophies of Pan-Africanism. So, I'm totally on board, and I think our center is very much on board. But, the tension we have at the Africa Center is how do we make sure that even as we promote and think about ideas of Pan-Africanism, we're not we're not flattening the surface, right? Because you, as someone from Cameroon, Maurice, like, you've got a particular understanding, and like, we can get into all the breakdowns of what it means to even be from this entity called Cameroon. And Fanta, I'm not sure where you're from. I'm guessing from Guinea, I was going to say. See, but even that, right? You're talking about Guinea and Senegal, right? Like, so it's an interesting like dynamic there, right? Like, is that division even a real one, right? Like, and how do we think about that division? But again, it is a very real one, right? Like, one of your parents is from this place, one of your parents is from the other, and that does define who you are, but the connection also defines who you are. And that's what we have to be very cognizant of as folks who run a Pan-African, pan-diasporic institution. And it gives me a headache a lot of times, but I think it's a good kind of headache. It's also a headache if you're Nigerian, because there's just so many of us, right? Like, you could get away with thinking that like Nigeria is the center of the whole entire world. And I've learned that other Africans don't really like that.